Human Body Systems, Endocrine and Nervous Systems, narrated by Jalen Williams, Isis Whitfield, and Michaela Key. Clarification by Ms. Piper.
Nervous system. The nervous system is very essential to the body as it is a communication network for the body. It is responsible for coordinating all of the body's activities. Without it, we wouldn't be able to function our bodies as well as we do. Compared to a mailing system, messages are sent from the brain throughout the body. There are over 100 billion nerves in the human body. The central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord, while the peripheral nervous system consists of nerves and ganglia.
Autonomic versus somatic nervous systems. The somatic nervous system, or SONS, is the part of the peripheral nervous system that controls the voluntary body movements. The autonomic nervous system, or ANS, is the part of the peripheral nervous system that controls involuntary body movements. The ANS can be subdivided into the parasympathetic nervous system, or PSNS, and the sympathetic nervous system, or SNS. Sympathetic versus parasympathetic nervous systems. Sympathetic nervous system, also known as the fight or flight system, sends messages to the adrenal medulla to secrete adrenaline. The parasympathetic nervous system acts as a cool down as the vagus nerve calms down the body that is put under stress.
Neurons are specialized cells of the nervous system that transmit signals throughout the body. Neurons have long extensions that extend out from the cell body called dendrites and axons. Dendrites are extensions of neurons that receive signals and conduct them toward the cell body. All neurons have three basic functions. These are to receive signals, integrate incoming signals, and communicate signals to target cells.
Hi, this is Miss Piper, the AP Biology instructor at Dudley High School, and I'm going to be giving an overview of the nervous system, the endocrine system, and their relationship with feedback loops. So we're going to start with the nervous system. The nervous system is composed of two parts, and that's going to be the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is composed of the brain and the brain stem, while the peripheral nervous system is going to be any nerves that are throughout the body. You have some parts of the peripheral nervous system that are broken down as it relates to response, and that's going to be voluntary action, which is performed by the somatic nervous system, and then you're going to have the autonomic nervous system, which is going to be any involuntary response. Any voluntary response is going to be, for example, when we decide to run, when we decide to talk, when we decide to walk. Those are all going to be voluntary actions performed by the peripheral nervous system. Anything that's connected to the ANS, which is the autonomic system, is going to be anything that we do involuntary. We do it without thinking. It's something that comes very natural to us, and that's going to be when we blink, or it's going to be our heartbeat, or when we decide to breathe, are all going to be a part of the autonomic system.
The endocrine system. The system of hormones, which are chemical messengers that coordinate and direct target cells and organs. 9 different glands include the hypothalamus, pituitary, pineal, thyroid, parathyroid, adrenal, pancreas, ovaries, and testicles. Endocrine and exocrine glands. Endocrine glands only secrete hormones directly into the bloodstream. Exocrine glands secrete substances through a duct. This includes sweat, salivary, lacrimal, and pancreas.
The pituitary gland is known as the master gland as it controls the secretions of hormones. It is a tiny structure the size of a grape, is located at the base of the brain, and divided into anterior and posterior lobes.
Negative versus positive feedback. Positive feedback loops enhance changes and cause a system to move far away from its equilibrium state. An example of that is birth. Negative feedback loops try to maintain homeostasis or regulate a process that occurs in the body. Some examples of that are blood sugar levels.
So now we're going to pick up with the endocrine system, and that is the system that releases chemicals from glands, and it actually aids us in responding to stimuli. And so when we think about the endocrine system, we think about the pituitary gland, which is kind of the main gland for releasing hormones. And these hormones are involved in direct cell-to-cell communication so that our organs can know exactly what we need them to do in response to our actual stimuli. And the endocrine system is going to definitely work in conjunction with the nervous system. So while the nervous system is doing a lot of response to outside stimuli, the endocrine system is taking responsibility to the response to the inside stimulus. And so when we talk about endocrine glands or the endocrine system, we're talking about those chemicals that are being released into the bloodstream, directly into the bloodstream in response to any stimuli that is outside of the body, in which we usually respond to through our nervous system. So a little bit of a recap on the relationship between the endocrine system and the nervous system is that you need to think about the elements of a feedback loop. And so in that, you're going to have the actual stimuli, and the nervous system is going to be the one that is picking up what's going on in the stimulus. And so as a result, the nervous system is almost, in a sense, the actual receptor for any stimuli that is outside of the body. And then, of course, that response is going to travel to what we call an effector, which is the actual organ that's involved in the actual response that we need to have to the stimulus. And so when we think about that, we're going to think about actual glands like the adrenal gland or the pituitary gland or any of the glands in our body that is going to actually get or cause the response. So with that being said, this actually feeds into what we call a feedback loop. So when we think about a feedback loop or response to stimulus, we think about two things. We think about a negative feedback loop and we think about a positive feedback loop. In a positive feedback loop, for instance, a woman may respond to a stimulus as it relates to a contraction. A contraction will cause the woman to release from her pituitary gland the chemical oxytocin, which would in turn lead to her actually doing what we call pushing, which would lead to the descent of a fetus. So this positive feedback loop is going to be involved in childbirth. And then we talk about a negative feedback loop. We're going to think about anytime we have a response that has a continuous cycle. The difference between the two is that the positive feedback loop is going to have a beginning and an end, whereas the negative feedback loop is going to be like a figure eight. Is continuous, is constantly happening. The negative feedback loop is always involved in homeostasis. We respond to a stimulus, we do what needs to be done so that we can maintain a balance within our bodies. This covers an overview of systems. Hope you learn what you need to learn, and I'll talk to you next time.